When a 7 months pregnant waitress locks eyes with the crime boss who destroyed her life, she instantly knows that the fragile escape she spent months building has just shattered. Elena Carter believed that disappearing into the shadows would keep her safe from Victor Romano, the man whose bullet she once watched tear through another woman's skull, the man whose child now kicks beneath her heart. But fate has other plans. Tonight, in a greasy downtown diner at 2 de la mañana, their worlds collide again. And Victor Romano has never been the kind of man who lets go of what belongs to him. If you want to see how this impossible story unfolds, stay with me until the end. And before we begin, hit the like button and comment the city you're watching from. You want to see just how far this story travels. Guión bajo 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 guión. The fluorescent lights of Danny's all-night diner buzzed overhead with the tired hum of something slowly dying. Elena Carter had learned to tune it out. Used like she'd learned to ignore the ache in her swollen feet, the stabbing pressure in her lower back, and the constant anxiety that lived beneath her ribs like a second heartbeat. 7 months pregnant and working double shifts wasn't sustainable. She knew that. But neither was homelessness. Her savings account held $6,318. Barely enough for next week's groceries, let alone diapers, formula, and hospital bills. She refilled coffee for table 6, where a trucker stared endlessly into his phone, and slowly made her way back to the counter. One hand instinctively supported the heavy curve of her belly. The baby kicked hard. Elena winced. You good, hun? Marlene's gravel-rough voice came from behind the register. The older woman had worked at the diner for 15 years. She'd taken Elena under her wing the moment she arrived 4 months ago, obviously pregnant, obviously running from something, and obviously desperate. Fine, Elena lied with a forced smile. Just active tonight. Boor guru. Marlene asked for what was probably the 20th time. I don't know. That part was true. She couldn't afford the extra ultrasound that would tell her. And part of her didn't they want to know. Didn't they want to make it more real than the relentless kicks already did? The bell above the diner door chimed. Elena turned automatically, waitress smile already forming. Then the world stopped. 3 men walked inside. And Elena's blood turned to ice. She knew that walk. That presence. The way the air itself seemed to tighten when he entered a room. Victor Romano didn't they simply walk into places. He claimed them. 6'3" of perfectly tailored menace. Dark hair swept back from a face that would have been breathtakingly handsome if it weren't so dangerous. Dark eyes that missed nothing. A mouth capable of warmth and cruelty. And right now, those eyes were locked directly on her. Elena's fingers tightened around the coffee pot. Her feet froze to the linoleum floor. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But running would only confirm what Victor was already realizing. Because his gaze had already dropped from her face, to her belly. The expression that crossed his features was something Elena had never seen before. Shock. Pure, unfiltered shock. Elena? Marlene's voice sounded far away. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. That was almost funny. Ghosts were supposed to be from the past. Dead and buried. Victor Romano was very much alive. And judging by the way he'd frozen in the doorway, his 2 associates nearly crashing into his back, he was just as stunned to see her. 4 months ago, Elena had vanished. Gone in the middle of the night from the small apartment Victor had kept her in. She took nothing but the clothes on her back and the bus fare she'd secretly saved. No note. No explanation. No goodbye. Because how do you explain to the man you're sleeping with, the man who once held you like something precious, that you watched him execute a woman in cold blood? How do you reconcile the man who whispered softly in Italian against your hair, with the man who calmly put a bullet between a crying woman's eyes? The coffee pot slipped from Elena's fingers. It shattered across the floor. Glass exploded. Scalding coffee splashed across the tiles. The sound snapped the frozen moment. Elena. Careful. Marlene rushed forward with towels. I'm sorry, Elena bent down automatically to help. And suddenly, the world tilted. Blood rushed from her head. Black spots flooded her vision. Strong arms caught her before she hit the floor. She knew those arms. They strengthened them. The scent of expensive cologne and gunpowder. Don't touch me, she gasped, trying to pull away. Victor's grip didn't loosen. You're about to faint. His voice was exactly as she remembered. Low. Controlled. Dangerously calm. When's the last time you ate? None of your business. She finally pulled free, stumbling backward until her back hit the counter. Victor didn't move closer. But his eyes moved over her like a scanner. The faded uniform with someone else's name stitched on the pocket. The exhaustion etched into her face. The cheap sneakers patched with duct tape. And the curve of her swollen belly. How far along? His tone was calm. Too calm. 7 months. The entire diner had gone silent. Victor's 2 men, Marco and another unfamiliar face, stood nearby like wolves waiting for a command. Elena, should I call someone? Marlene asked nervously. No. I'm fine. Elena forced steady breaths. I just need to talk to him outside. Victor's gaze sharpened. After you. Not alone. Elena looked back at Marlene. I'll be right outside. 5 minutes. Then she walked toward the door. Victor followed. The humid summer air hit her as she stepped outside. The parking lot was nearly empty. Hair battered on the trucker's rig. And Victor's black SUV. Elena barely made it 3 steps before her knees buckled again. This time when Victor caught her, she didn't have the strength to fight. He lowered them both onto the curb. One arm around her shoulders. The other instinctively resting on her stomach. Don't, but the baby kicked. Hard. Victor froze. His entire body went rigid. 7 months, he murmured. His hand remained spread across her belly. You disappeared 9 months ago. 8.5, Elena whispered. Silence stretched between them. Then Victor spoke again. My child. Not a question. A statement. Elena closed her eyes. Victor, why? The single word carried rage, hurt, betrayal. Why did you run? His voice cracked slightly. Elena swallowed. I saw you. The words tumbled out. That night. The warehouse on 5th. He followed you. Victor's jaw tightened. I saw you kill her. Silence. Then Victor lifted her chin. You saw me execute a traitor. His voice was flat. She sold information to the Volkovs. 3 of my men died because of her. She was begging, Elena whispered. They usually do. No apology. No regret. Used truce. And you wonder why I ran? Elena choked. You thought I'd kill you. Victor's voice turned cold. I didn't know what you'd do, she cried. The man I loved wasn't real. Victor's gaze darkened. I'm exactly who I've always been. His thumb brushed away a tear from her cheek. You chose not to see it. Silence fell again. Then Victor spoke quietly. You should have told me about the baby. Elena laughed bitterly. Rights. Do you want to talk about rights? She placed a hand protectively over her stomach. I have the right to protect my child. Victor's hand returned to her belly. Gentle. Possessive. From his father? Yes. Elena looked at him with raw honesty. Because you'd burn this entire city to the ground to protect him. Victor didn't deny it. Instead he asked softly, You're having a beau? I don't know. But Victor's expression changed. Something vulnerable flickered across his face. He felt the baby move beneath his hand. Then his voice hardened again. You're working double shifts in a diner. Living where? A motel. Which one? Elena didn't answer. Victor's jaw flexed. The Paradise? Her silence confirmed it. A place known for roaches, broken air conditioning, and people hiding from their past. Victor stood instantly, pulling her gently up with him. Marco. Bring the car. Elena shook her head weakly. I'm not going with you. Victor looked down at her. You're 7 months pregnant. You're exhausted. And you're living in a place that probably has black mold. His voice dropped into steel. So yes. You're coming with me. You can't just protect my child? Victor finished. His hand cupped her face. You can hate me all you want, Elena. You can believe I'm a monster. But you will not risk yourself or our child out of fear. The black SUV rolled forward. The door opened. Waiting. Elena stared at it, thinking about the stained carpet in her motel room. The broken air conditioner. The future she was trying to survive alone. And the man who refused to let her disappear. Because Victor Romano had finally found her. And this time, he wasn't letting her go again. Elena stood there in the humid night air, Victor's words echoing in her mind. She thought about the ramen noodles she'd been living on for weeks, sometimes days at a time, because she simply couldn't afford anything else. She thought about the constant fear that woke her up in the middle of the night, the terrifying question that refused to leave her alone. What would happen when the baby finally came? When she couldn't work anymore. When the little money she had saved finally ran out. When survival stopped being a struggle and became impossible. Her mind drifted back to the moment just minutes earlier. The look on Victor's face when they felt their child kick for the first time. The shock. The raw emotion. The fierce, possessive certainty in his eyes. Elena swallowed. I can't go back to how things were, she whispered. Her voice trembled with exhaustion. I can't pretend I didn't see what I saw. I can't pretend that night never happened. Victor didn't interrupt her. He simply watched her with those dark, calculating eyes. Then his hand slid slowly from her cheek to the back of her neck. His fingers threaded gently into her hair. I'm not asking you to, he said quietly. His voice was softer now. Less steel. More gravity. I'm asking you to let me take care of you, both of you, until the baby comes. His thumb brushed against the base of her skull in a familiar, intimate gesture. After that, we'll figure out the rest. Elena looked up at him. And if I say no? Victor smiled. But there was nothing warm about it. The smile was sharp. Cold. Dangerous. Then I'll have Marco collect your things from the Paradise Motor Lodge, he said calmly. And bring you with him. He shrugged slightly. But I would prefer if you came willingly. That's not a choice, Elena said bitterly. Victor nodded. No, it isn't. He looked at her steadily. But I'm pretending it is, for your sake. Elena turned her head slowly and looked back toward the diner. Through the greasy window she could see Marlene standing behind the counter. Watching them. Her phone already in her hand. If Elena screamed, Marlene would call the police. But Elena knew exactly how useless that would be. Victor Romano owned half the police force in the city. And the other half knew better than to interfere in his affairs. And if she was honest with herself, Victor had been right about one thing. She had been endangering the baby. Running herself into the ground. Working double shifts. Living in a roach-infested motel. Eating cheap noodles and pretending that somehow she would survive this alone. And for what? To prove she didn't need him? To cling to some fragile moral high ground built on fear and pride? Her hand moved slowly over her belly. The baby kicked again. Strong. Alive. Depending on her. 1 month, she finally said. Victor's eyes narrowed slightly. Until the baby comes, then we reassess everything. Victor didn't react immediately. But Elena felt the tension drain from his body like a cold spring finally relaxing. Agreed. He helped her into the SUV with surprising gentleness. The contrast between that softness and the iron authority in his voice earlier made her uneasy. The leather seat beneath her felt impossibly luxurious. Cooler from the air conditioning washed over her overheated skin. The interior of the vehicle probably cost more than she would make in 5 years of diner shifts. Your things? Victor asked as he slid into the seat beside her. Elena let out a quiet breath. Everything I own fits in one duffel bag. The words tasted like humiliation. Victor nodded once. We collect it tomorrow. He pulled out his phone and began tapping rapidly. You need food, he said without looking up. Real food. When was the last time you ate a proper meal? Elena stayed silent. She honestly couldn't remember. Meals had become something optional. Something squeezed in between shifts when her tips covered more than gas and rent. Victor glanced at her. Take that as too long. Then his hand found hers in the darkness of the back seat. His fingers laced naturally with hers like they had done 1,000 times before. Doctor's appointment tomorrow, he said. Full checkup. Then we'll get you settled. I already have a doctor, Elena murmured weakly. At the free clinic on 9th. Victor's expression made it very clear what he thought of that idea. Not anymore. Elena wanted to argue. Wanted to push back. To prove she was still independent. That she didn't need his money or his protection. But the baby kicked again. And exhaustion rolled over her like a tidal wave. She was so tired. So tired of fighting. I still hate what you do, she whispered. I still can't accept that life. Victor nodded slowly. I know. His thumb traced slow circles on the back of her hand. But you're here. That's enough for now. The SUV pulled away from the diner. Away from the buzzing fluorescent lights. Away from the grease-stained floors and the fragile life she had barely been surviving. Elena watched it disappear in the side mirror. And tried not to think about the fact that she was driving straight back into the darkness she had run from. Only this time. She was carrying Victor Romano's child. And that changed everything. Guión bajo 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 guión. Victor's penthouse looked exactly as she remembered. Dark polished wood. Leather furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. A space that looked luxurious, but strangely empty. Like the home of a man who rarely allowed himself to truly live there. Guest room is ready, Victor said as he guided her inside. His hand rested lightly on her lower back. Private bathroom. Everything you need should be there. Elena stepped away from him. I remember where it is. Her voice was quiet. I lived here for 6 months. Victor raised one eyebrow. You lived in my bedroom for 6 months. His correction was gentle but pointed. The guest room was storage. He'd crept up Elena's neck. It was right. Almost every night she had fallen asleep in his arms. Listening to his heartbeat while he traced patterns on her skin. Trying not to think about the dangerous world waiting outside those walls. The guest room looked completely different now. The clutter was gone. In its place stood a large queen-size bed with soft Egyptian cotton sheets. A dresser. A nightstand. Even a small sitting area beside the window. Have Marco bring you clothes tomorrow, Victor said. For tonight there should be something in the closet. Elena opened the closet door. Inside were several sets of soft pajamas. All brand new. All exactly her size. You keep random women's clothes in your guest room, she asked suspiciously. Victor leaned casually against the doorframe. I had them delivered while we were driving. He studied her carefully. I still remember your sizes. Of course he did. Victor Romano forgot nothing. Every detail. Every preference. Every weakness. It was what made him so dangerous. There is food in the kitchen, he said. Help yourself. I have my chef come in the morning. You have a chef now? Elena asked. Victor gave a faint smile. I have a lot of things now. Something darker flickered across his expression. Things changed after you left. Elena wanted to ask what he meant. But exhaustion was pulling her down. The bed looked impossibly comfortable. Thank you, she said quietly. For tonight. Victor crossed the room in 2 strides. Slowly, carefully, he placed his hand on her belly again. The baby kicked instantly. Victor's eyes softened. I meant what I said, he murmured. I will keep you both safe. Whatever it takes. Elena placed her hand over his. That's what scares me. Your version of whatever it takes usually leaves bodies behind. Victor didn't apologize. Only when necessary. The world I live in doesn't allow weakness. It doesn't allow mercy. I protect what's mine. And I eliminate threats. Elena looked up at him. Is that the world you want for our son? Victor's jaw tightened. What I want doesn't matter. What matters is keeping him alive long enough to make his own choices. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Victor lowered his forehead gently against hers. Ask me again in a month. After he's born. After you see I can protect you. Then maybe I'll have a better answer. Elena closed her eyes. Breathing in the scent of him. Danger. Power. Familiar warmth. She had missed this. More than she wanted to admit. 1 month, she whispered. Then I'm gone, unless you prove this life won't destroy him. 1 month, Victor agreed. He kissed her forehead softly. Sleep, Elena. Tomorrow we figure out the rest. He turned to leave. But she stopped him. Victor. He looked back. The woman you killed, the one I saw, her voice was barely audible. Did she have children? Victor's face went cold. Why does it matter? Because if you're going to be in our son's life, you need to know you're not capable of making another child an orphan. Silence filled the room. Finally Victor spoke. No children. No family who cared. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she accepted the consequences. How do you know? Victor looked at her steadily. Because I always ask. I always know exactly who I'm putting in the ground before I pull the trigger. Elena's hand tightened protectively around her belly. Victor nodded once. Sleep. Then he left. The door closed quietly behind him. Elena stood alone in the comfortable guest room. Wondering if she had just made the worst mistake of her life. Or the only decision that might keep her son alive. Outside the windows the city glittered like broken glass. Beautiful. Sharp. Dangerous. Victor Romano's kingdom. Built on blood. Fear. And power. Elena changed into the soft pajamas and lay down on the bed. The baby kicked gently. We're in trouble, she whispered to her belly. Your father is a very dangerous man. And I think I just let him back into our lives. The baby kicked again. Almost like agreement. Elena closed her eyes. Trying not to think about tomorrow. Trying not to remember the warmth of Victor's hands. The certainty in his voice. The darkness in his eyes. And trying not to admit that some small part of her felt safe again. Even if that safety might destroy them both. Elena had barely finished setting her phone down when a soft knock sounded at the bedroom door. It pulled her abruptly out of the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind. "Come in," she called. She already knew who it would be. The door opened slowly. Victor stepped inside carrying a silver tray. And Elena hated the way her heart stumbled at the sight of him. He had clearly been awake for hours. Showered. Dressed. Ready for the day. Dark slacks fit perfectly against his tall frame, and a crisp white dress shirt hugged his shoulders, the sleeves rolled neatly to his elbows. He looked exactly like the successful businessman he pretended to be in public. Except for one detail. When his jacket shifted slightly as he walked, the black shoulder holster beneath it briefly caught the light. "Breakfast." Victor set the tray gently on the bed beside her. "Toast. Eggs. Fresh fruit." His voice was calm, almost casual. "The doctor said you need protein and iron." Elena blinked at him. "You already called a doctor?" "Doctor Reeves," Victor replied. "She'll be here at 11. He sat on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping slightly beneath his weight. "She's an obstetrician who specializes in high-risk pregnancies." His tone was firm. "Matter of fact. She'll perform a full examination. Ultrasound. Blood work. Whatever you need." Elena stared down at the tray. Her stomach growled loudly before she could stop it. Despite her irritation. Despite her pride. "I already had a doctor," she muttered. "At the clinic." Victor folded his hands calmly. "And how often did you see this doctor?" "Once a month." She lifted her chin defensively. "Like you're supposed to." Victor's eyes narrowed slightly. "When was your last appointment?" Elena didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. She had missed the last 2 appointments. The clinic hours conflicted with her work shifts. And she couldn't afford to lose these tips. "Eat," Victor said quietly. His tone made it clear the discussion wasn't negotiable. "Then we'll talk." Elena hesitated for only a moment before picking up the fork. The eggs were perfect. Light. Fluffy. Seasoned with herbs she couldn't even identify. The toast was thick slices of real bakery bread. Not the cheap pre-sliced white bread she had been living on for months. The fruit was fresh. Sweet. Probably organic. Elena told herself she was eating for the baby. But deep down she knew that was only part of the truth. She was eating because she was starving. Victor watched her quietly. And she hated it. Hated the way his eyes followed every bite. Hated the small flicker of satisfaction in his expression when she cleaned the entire plate. "Victor," he asked softly. "Don't look so smug," Elena muttered. "I'm not smug." Victor reached out slowly. His hand rested against her belly. "I'm relieved." The baby kicked instantly. Victor's eyebrows lifted. "Is active this morning." "Is always active." Elena shifted slightly but didn't move his hand away. The baby kicked again. Harder this time. As if showing off. "Especially after I eat." "Good," Victor murmured. "That's healthy." His thumb traced a slow circle along the curve of her stomach. "Dr. Reeves will confirm it, but everything I read says that's a good sign." Elena blinked. "You've been reading pregnancy books?" Victor didn't look embarrassed. "I've been reading everything I can find since last night." He said it as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "I have 7 months to catch up on." Something tight twisted in Elena's chest. She had seen this side of Victor before. The way he approached problems. Focused. Relentless. Learning everything. Controlling every possible variable. He did it with business deals. Territory disputes. Negotiations. Now, he was doing it with fatherhood. "You can't control everything," she said quietly. Babies don't work like business deals. Victor looked at her. For a brief moment, she saw something unfamiliar in his eyes. Uncertainty. Maybe even fear. I know, he admitted. But I can try. His hand moved gently over her belly. I can make sure you have the best doctors. The best resources. His voice hardened slightly. I can eliminate risks. And create safety. Elena's gaze sharpened. By eliminating people? The question slipped out sharper than she intended. Victor didn't flinch. If necessary. That's not, we're not having that argument again, Elena. Victor stood abruptly and walked toward the tall window overlooking the city. You know what I am. His reflection stared back at them in the glass. You knew it before you ever came to my bed. His voice dropped lower. Even if you didn't want to admit it. I'm not going to apologize for protecting what's mine. I'm not yours, Elena snapped. Victor turned. And the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. You're carrying my son. He walked back toward her slowly. That makes you mine in every way that matters. Possession isn't the love. I never said it was. Victor's hand rose again. He cupped her cheek gently. But you are under my protection now. You and our child. His voice dropped to steel. And that is not negotiable. Elena opened her mouth to argue. But the baby kicked hard. A sharp pressure against her ribs made her gasp. Victor's hand instantly moved back to her stomach. Concern replaced the hardness in his expression. Does that hurt? Sometimes. She guided his hand slightly lower. There. A small elbow, or foot, pressed outward beneath her skin. Feel that? Victor's expression transformed. The dangerous crime boss vanished for a moment. Replaced by a man staring in awe. That's him, his voice dropped to a whisper. That's him. Elena watched the exact moment the reality hit him. The moment Victor Romano truly understood he was going to be a father. Pretty strong, she said softly. Victor exhaled slowly. Like his mother. His voice grew rough. Running double shifts while pregnant, living in that hellhole, refusing to ask for help, his jaw tightened. You should have told me. And how would that have gone? Elena shot back. You would have locked me away the moment you knew I witnessed that execution. I would have protected you. His voice sharpened. I would have moved you somewhere safe. Kept you away from the business. Made sure you had everything. Instead you ran. He gestured toward her belly. And you've been suffering for months when you didn't have to. I was protecting him from your world. Elena's voice cracked. By working yourself to death. Victor's hand tightened slightly against her stomach. Bah. Leaving somewhere I wouldn't house my enemies? His voice dropped dangerously quiet. You were killing yourself, Elena. He swallowed hard. Another month of that, and you both would have, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Elena lowered her eyes. I know, she whispered. I know I wasn't doing well. But I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't come back here. I couldn't pretend everything was fine. Victor sat beside her again. I'm not asking you to pretend. He brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I'm asking you to let me take care of you. To trust that I can keep you safe, without requiring you to approve of my methods. That's an impossible ask. No, Victor's gaze locked onto hers. It's the only one that matters right now. His voice softened. You don't have to love me. You don't even have to like me. But you do have to let me protect my son. Before Elena could answer, her phone buzzed loudly on the nightstand. She grabbed it gratefully. The screen lit up. 12 missed calls. 6 text messages. All from Marlene. Her heart dropped. She opened the messages quickly. Honey, are you okay?
That man looked dangerous. Should I call someone? Elena, please answer. I'm worried. If you don't respond, I'm calling the police. Elena, please just tell me you're alive. I have to call her back. Victor didn't stop her. He simply watched silently. Marlene answered on the first ring. Elena, thank God. Her voice was a mix of relief and anger. What the hell happened last night? Who was that man? Are you safe? I'm fine, Elena said quickly. I'm safe. Who was he? Elena hesitated, then glanced at Victor. He's the baby's father. Silence. Then Marlene sighed heavily. The father you've been running from. Yes. Marlene's voice softened. Are you sure you're safe, honey? If you need somewhere to go, I'm okay. Elena forced confidence into her voice. He just wants to take care of the baby. Uh-huh. Marlene replied skeptically. And if you want to leave? Elena glanced at Victor again. He hadn't moved, but tension filled his shoulders. Then I'll leave. Her voice was quieter now. 1 month. I agreed to stay 1 month until the baby comes. After that, we'll figure things out. You call me if anything changes, Marlene warned. I mean it. I will. Elena's throat tightened. Thank you for everything. Marlene grumbled softly. Someone's got to worry about you. Take care of that baby. I will. The call ended. Victor spoke quietly. She cares about you. She's a good person. Elena nodded. The kind of person who doesn't solve problems with bullets. Victor adjusted his cuffs calmly. The kind of person who would get eaten alive in my world. Which is why she works in a diner. And I run half this city. Elena frowned. Is that supposed to impress me? No, Victor checked his watch. Dr. Reeves will be here in an hour. Marco is bringing your things from the motel. Is there anything else you need? Elena thought about her duffel bag. Secondhand clothes. Dollar store shampoo. A life built out of scraps. No, she said quietly. Nothing else. Victor nodded once. He moved toward the door, paused, then spoke without turning around. I meant what I said last night. I will keep you both safe. His voice hardened. Whatever it takes. Then he left, and Elena sat alone in the quiet room, realizing something terrifying. She believed him. Victor Romano would absolutely keep them safe. The real question was, what that safety would cost. Victor Romano standing obediently outside the guest room door was a sight Elena never thought she would see. A man who commanded entire criminal empires. A man who controlled territory, money, and violence across half the city. Now standing in a hallway because a 5'6" doctor told him to wait. Dr. Reeves noticed it too. She glanced toward the door while snapping on a pair of latex gloves. He's intense, she observed calmly. Elena lay back on the bed, letting out a tired breath. First time, father, she said. Dr. Reeves chuckled softly. First time everything, I think. Elena nodded. He just found out about the baby last night. Dr. Reeves paused. Her eyebrows rose slightly. Ah, she said knowingly. That explains the panic call at 6 o'clock this morning demanding I clear my schedule. Elena blinked. He called you at 6? Oh yes. Dr. Reeves wheeled the portable ultrasound machine closer to the bed. He offered to pay me triple my usual rate to make this appointment a priority. She began the examination with practiced efficiency. I told him threatening obstetricians was bad karma. Elena winced slightly as the doctor pressed gently against her abdomen. And he laughed. Dr. Reeves continued. Then paid me triple anyway. Elena sighed. That's Victor. Solving everything with money and intimidation. Dr. Reeves smiled faintly. Well, in this case his money is buying you excellent prenatal care. So I'm not complaining. She squeezed a bottle of gel onto Elena's belly. The cold made Elena shiver. Then the ultrasound wand pressed down. The screen flickered to life. And suddenly, there he was. A grainy black and white image of the baby curled safely inside her. There's your baby, Dr. Reeves said gently. She pointed at the screen. Good size. Active movement. A faint rhythmic sound filled the room. Heartbeat is strong. Everything looks healthy. Elena stared at the screen. Her chest tightened. Tears burned in her eyes. She had seen the baby once before during a clinic ultrasound months ago. But this machine was better. Clearer. More detailed. She could see the curve of the spine. The tiny fingers. Even the outline of the baby's face. Can I? Victor's voice came quietly from the doorway. Elena turned. He stood there frozen. Like a man standing at the edge of something sacred. Can I see? He asked. Dr. Reeves looked at Elena. Elena hesitated. Then slowly nodded. Victor crossed the room in 3 long strides. His eyes locked on the screen. The intensity in his gaze made Elena's chest ache. That's him, Victor whispered. His voice sounded rough, almost fragile. That's him. Dr. Reeves nodded. Yes, it is. Then she tilted her head slightly. And actually, about that. She adjusted the wand. Would you like to know the baby's sex? I can confirm it now. Elena looked at Victor. His hand had found hers without either of them realizing it. Their fingers tightened together. Yes, they said at the same time. Dr. Reeves smiled. Well then, she studied the screen carefully. Congratulations. You're having a boy. Victor's grip tightened around Elena's hand almost painfully. Elena looked up at him and saw something inside him break open. Tears slid silently down Victor Romano's face. A son, he whispered. His voice trembled. We're having a son. Elena's own tears spilled over. Yeah, she whispered. We are. Dr. Reeves continued the examination, taking measurements, pointing out features. But Elena barely heard her. She was too focused on Victor, the way he stared at the screen like it held the entire universe. This was dangerous. Elena realized it with a sudden pang. These moments, these glimpses of humanity, they were the same moments that had pulled her into his world the first time. The moments where the monster disappeared, and the man underneath showed through. Everything looks good, Dr. Reeves finally said. She wiped the gel from Elena's stomach. But I want to run some blood work. She consulted a small tablet. Your clinic file shows you missed several appointments. Elena looked away. I want to check your iron levels, the doctor continued. And your weight. She looked directly at Elena. You're underweight for this stage of pregnancy. I've been working a lot, Elena said defensively. You've been starving yourself. Dr. Reeves's tone wasn't judgmental, just factual. Your body has been using its own reserves to feed the baby. That's not sustainable. She began writing on her tablet. I'm prescribing prenatal vitamins, iron supplements, and a high-protein diet. She paused. And I want you on modified bed rest for the next week. Elena sat up sharply. Bed rest. I can't. You can, Dr. Reeves replied calmly. And you will. She began packing her equipment. Your blood pressure is elevated. You're exhausted. You're entering the third trimester. Your body needs rest. Victor's voice came from beside the bed. She'll rest. Elena snapped her head toward him. I'm sitting right here. Stop talking about me like I'm not in the room. Then stop arguing about taking care of yourself. Victor shot back. Dr. Reeves is right. You need rest. Nutrition. Medical supervision. All of which you will have here. Elena opened her mouth to argue again. But exhaustion washed over her. The doctor had been right. Even this short exam had drained her. I'll return in 3 days, Dr. Reeves said. If you experience cramping, bleeding, or unusual pain before then, call me immediately. She glanced at Victor. Mr. Romano has my number. Of course he does, Elena muttered. Dr. Reeves laughed softly. He also received a very stern lecture about respecting your autonomy. She squeezed Elena's hand. You're doing fine, sweetheart. The baby is healthy. Now you just need to take care of yourself. After the doctor left, Victor sat quietly on the edge of the bed, his phone already in his hand. What are you doing? Elena asked. Arranging vitamins. Calling my chef to discuss high-protein meal plans. And informing Marco that you're on bed rest. His thumbs moved rapidly across the screen. I'm also having him bring your things. From the motel. Victor, a son. He looked up suddenly. The expression on his face stopped Elena mid-sentence. We're having a son, Elena. The wonder in his voice broke something open inside her. I know, she whispered. Victor stared at her belly. I have a son. He said the words slowly, testing them. A boy. My boy. Our boy. Elena corrected softly. Victor moved closer. His hands rested gently against her stomach again. I never thought. He stopped. His jaw tightened. I never let myself imagine. Imagine what? Elena asked quietly. A family. Victor's thumb moved slowly across her belly. Someone to protect. He swallowed hard. My father was a bastard. Cold. Cruel. He saw children as tools. Or disappointments. Nothing in between. Elena listened silently. Victor rarely spoke about his childhood. I won't be him, Victor said fiercely. I won't do that to our son. Then you have to give him a different life, Elena said softly. Not this one. Not the violence. Not the fear. I can protect him from danger. But not from knowing what you are. Elena placed her hand over his. He'll grow up watching you. If violence is all he sees, it's what he'll become. Victor was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. What do you want me to do? Walk away from everything I've built. I want you to want better for him. I can have both. Can you? Elena sat up slowly. Will there always be enemies? People who see us as leverage? Victor's answer was blunt. Yes. There will always be threats. That's reality. Whether I leave this life or not. I've made enemies. They don't forget. They don't forgive. The only thing keeping you safe is my power and my willingness to destroy anyone who threatens you. So we're prisoners of your choices, Elena said. You're protected by them, Victor replied coldly. Frustration radiated from him. You want a fairy tale? A normal life? That's not reality. My hands are bloody. And the only thing standing between those enemies and you is me. Then his voice dropped. You want to know why I'm ruthless? Because mercy gets you killed. Hesitation gets you buried. I learned that when I was 14. He stared at the floor. I watched my uncle gut my father like a fish because the old man had gotten soft. Elena flinched. Victor, you think I'm a monster. His voice was ice. Fine. But I'm a monster who keeps his family alive. He turned toward the door. Rest. Eat. Take care of our son. I have work to do. Running from this conversation won't change anything, Elena called after him. Victor paused. Neither will having it. You want me to be someone I'm not. I want you to accept who I am. We're at an impasse. So what happens now? She asked quietly. Victor glanced back. We survive the next month. We bring our son into this world safely. Then we figure out the rest. For a moment, the walls around him cracked, and Elena saw the man beneath them. I may be a monster, Victor said softly, but I'm a monster who loves you. Then he walked away, leaving Elena frozen in silence. Because those words terrified her more than any threat ever had. The days that followed settled into a strange rhythm. Elena was recovering slowly, but steadily. Victor came and went like the tide. Sometimes he was there for breakfast, silent, watchful, studying her like she might disappear if he looked away for too long. Then he would vanish for the entire day. No explanations. No details. Just business he never spoke about. By evening he would return, always in the same dark suits, carrying the scent of expensive whiskey and danger. They would eat dinner together like strangers pretending to be normal. There was always a distance between them, a fragile space that felt like walking on shattered glass. One wrong word, and everything could break again. Underscore. Dr. Reeves visited twice more that week. Each time, she carried the same calm professionalism that Elena had grown to rely on. After another ultrasound scan, she smiled reassuringly. Everything looks good, she said. The baby is measuring perfectly. Elena's iron levels are improving. Blood pressure is stabilizing. The bed rest was working, even if Elena felt like she was slowly losing her mind. During the third visit, Elena had finally been allowed to sit in the living room instead of the bedroom. A small victory. But Victor treated it like a military operation. Bedroom, living room, bathroom. That was the entire world he allowed her to move in. Dr. Reeves packed away the ultrasound machine. So, how are you feeling? She asked. Gently. Elena sighed and leaned back on the couch. Like a prisoner, she admitted. A prisoner in a very nice cell. Dr. Reeves laughed. I imagine Mr. Romano is taking the restrictions very seriously. Elena rolled her eyes. He's taking everything seriously. She shifted uncomfortably. At 31 weeks pregnant, there was no such thing as a comfortable position. Yesterday, Elena added, he had Marco follow me to the bathroom. Dr. Reeves raised an eyebrow. Victor was making sure you didn't fall. Victor's voice came from the doorway. He had arrived earlier than usual, still dressed in a dark suit, which meant he had been dealing with people Elena didn't want to think about. You were dizzy that morning, Victor said calmly. I was dizzy once, Elena replied. 3 days ago. Victor stepped closer. Once is enough. His hand instinctively moved to Elena's belly. The baby kicked immediately. Victor's expression softened in that way it always did when he felt his son move. For a moment, the dangerous Mafia boss disappeared, and only a father remained. ______________________________________________________________________ Well, everything looks perfect. But we should start discussing birth plans. She pulled out her tablet. You're entering your 32nd week. That means we need to talk about the hospital, pain management, and who you want in the delivery room. Victor answered immediately. The best hospital in the city. Private room. Best doctors available. Dr. Reeves gave him a calm look. I was asking Elena. Elena bit back a smile. Dr. Reeves was the only person who didn't seem intimidated by Victor Romano. I was thinking St. Catherine's, Elena said. They have a good maternity ward. And I definitely want an epidural. Dr. Reeves nodded. Noted. And who would you like in the delivery room with you? Elena hesitated. She looked at Victor. They hadn't discussed this. In fact, they hadn't discussed much of anything lately. Their entire relationship had become about surviving one day at a time. I don't really have anyone else, Elena said quietly. No family. No close friends. She swallowed. So, I guess it would just be him. Victor's hand tightened on her belly. I'll be there. His voice was firm. If you go into labor, everything else stops. I don't care what business is happening. I don't care who needs me. I'll be there. Dr. Reeves smiled slightly as she typed notes. I've seen too many fathers miss their child's birth because of work. Don't be one of them. Underscore. After she left. Silence filled the living room. Victor's hand was still resting on Elena's stomach. Feeling their son kick. You meant that? Elena finally asked. About being there. Victor frowned slightly. Did you think I wouldn't? Elena sighed. I don't know what to think anymore. 2 weeks ago, you were a ghost. I thought I'd never see you again. And now you're planning to be in the delivery room. Victor's thumb slowly traced circles on her skin. 2 weeks ago, I didn't know I was going to be a father. Everything changed that night. Elena hesitated. Then she said softly, I've been thinking about names. Victor looked up immediately. What names? I don't know yet. Nothing feels right. She tilted her head. What about you? Any family names? Victor's expression went cold. No. Our son deserves better than my family's legacy. Elena nodded slowly. Then we choose something new. Something that belongs only to him. The room grew quiet again. Outside the sun was setting, painting the city in deep orange and crimson. Victor spoke suddenly. Leonardo. Elena blinked. Leonardo. It means brave lion, Victor said. Strong, but also an artist. A thinker. Someone who creates instead of destroys. Elena smiled softly. Leo. I like that. Leonardo Romano. Victor shook his head. Leonardo Carter Romano. Elena looked at him in surprise. You'd give him my name too? Victor cupped her face gently. You're his mother. You're carrying him. He should carry your name as much as mine. Emotion filled Elena's chest. Leonardo Carter Romano, she whispered. Leo. Victor repeated the name softly. Leo. The tenderness in his voice broke her completely. Elena leaned forward and kissed him. At first it was supposed to be brief. Just a small moment of connection. But Victor's hand slid into her hair. And suddenly everything changed. The kiss deepened. Familiar. Dangerous. Like coming home to something she had tried to forget. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. Victor rested his forehead against hers. Elena. Her name sounded like a prayer. If you're not ready for this, tell me now. Because I'm barely holding on. Elena should have pulled away. But instead she whispered against his lips. I'm 8 months pregnant. And exhausted. But I'm also very tired of sleeping alone. Victor lifted her instantly, carrying her toward the bedroom. I've wanted you since the moment I saw you in that diner, he said. Every night you slept in the guest room has been torture. Later that night, wrapped in expensive sheets, with Victor's arm around her, and their son kicking gently between them, for the first time in months, Elena felt safe. Underscore. But the next morning, the illusion shattered. Elena woke to raised voices coming from Victor's study. I don't care what Volkov wants, Victor was saying angrily. He doesn't dictate terms to me. Marco's voice responded nervously. He's not asking, boss. He's demanding. If you don't meet him by Friday, he's calling it a declaration of war. Victor's voice turned cold. Then we go to war. Elena pushed open the door. Victor turned instantly, concern replacing anger. You should be resting. Elena crossed her arms. If it's making you break glasses before breakfast, it concerns me. Victor sighed. Alexei Volkov. He runs Russian operations in the North District. He wants a meeting. Friday night. Elena frowned. Then go. Victor shook his head. It's a trap. Volkov wants me to walk into an ambush. Elena grabbed his hand. You can't go. Victor looked down at her belly. Then back at her. I've survived worse. Elena whispered. But you've never done it with a son on the way. For the first time, Victor hesitated. Elena had spent months trying to escape Victor Romano's world. But now, that world was about to explode around her. When is the meeting? She asked quietly. Victor didn't hesitate. Friday, 8 o'clock. His hand rested gently on her stomach. I'll be back before midnight, he said. You won't even know I'm gone. Elena looked up at him slowly. I'll know. And I'll be terrified the entire time. Victor sighed softly. Then I'll give you Marco's number. He'll update you every hour. His expression softened as he touched her cheek. I won't let anything happen to me, Elena. I have too much to come home to now. Those words were meant to comfort her. Instead, they made the fear worse. Because Victor Romano had always been dangerous, untouchable, unbreakable. But now he had something to lose. And men like Alexei Volkov loved exploiting weakness. Underscore. Friday arrived faster than Elena wanted. Too fast. She spent the entire day trying to distract herself. Books, television, music. Nothing worked. By 7 o'clock, she was pacing the living room despite Dr. Reeves' strict orders for bed rest. Anxiety had turned into restless movement. Then at 7:30 p.m., Victor walked out of the bedroom. Elena's breath caught in her throat. He was dressed completely in black. Black suit, black shirt, black tie, and strapped beneath his arm, a shoulder holster. The gun rested against his ribs like a silent promise of violence. You look terrified, Victor said calmly. Because I am, Elena replied instantly. She grabbed his jacket. Don't go. Please. Send Marco instead. Postpone the meeting. Just stay. Victor placed his hands gently on her hips. But I will come back. I promise. Elena shook her head. You can't promise that. You don't know what Volkov is planning. Victor silenced her with a kiss. Deep, possessive, desperate. When he finally pulled away, his forehead rested against hers. And then he said the words Elena had waited months to hear. I love you. His voice trembled slightly. I should have told you sooner. I should have said it every day since you came back. I love you, Elena. You and Leo, you're everything. Tears streamed down her face. Then stay, she whispered. Choose us. Victor cupped her face gently. I am choosing you. By going. If I back down now, I look weak. And weak men in my position don't survive. Their families don't survive either. I need Volkov to understand something. That I'm still dangerous. That threatening my family has consequences. He kissed her again. Soft this time. Marco will call every hour. I'll be home before you know it. Then Victor Romano walked out the door. And Elena was left alone with her fear. And their unborn son kicking anxiously inside her. Underscore. The first hour passed like torture. At 8:15 p.m., Marco called. We've arrived at the location. No signs of trouble. Victor's going inside now. The second hour was worse. At 9:15 p.m., Marco called again. Meeting is still ongoing. Everything's calm. But by 10 p.m., Elena couldn't sit still anymore. She paced the living room. Her back ached. Her feet were swelling. And the baby kept moving constantly, like he could feel her fear. Then the phone rang again. 10:15 p.m. Elena answered instantly. Status. Marco's voice came through the phone. Meeting's breaking up. We should be leaving in, suddenly, shouting. Gunshots exploded through the phone. Men yelling. Tires screeching. Elena's blood turned to ice. Marco. More gunfire. Then Marco's voice returned, tense and urgent. We're under fire. Multiple. Shooters. Get to the panic room now. Elena's heart slammed against her ribs. What about Victor? Elena, listen to me. Panic room. Move. The call disconnected. For a moment. Elena couldn't move. Then instinct kicked in. Victor had shown her the panic room weeks ago. A hidden reinforced room behind his bedroom wall. Supplies. Food. A private phone line. She started running down the hallway. But suddenly, pain exploded across her abdomen. It felt like a steel belt tightening around her stomach. Harder and harder. Elena gasped. Braxton Hicks, she whispered to herself. Just practice contractions. But the pain didn't fade. It grew stronger. Sharper. Her knees buckled. Another contraction hit. Stronger. More violent. Elena grabbed the hallway table to keep from collapsing. Oh God. She fumbled for her phone and dialed Dr. Reeves. Elena? What's wrong? Contractions, Elena gasped. Strong ones. 5 minutes apart. There was a pause. How long? They just started, but they're intense. Dr. Reeves' voice became urgent. I'm calling an ambulance. Where's Victor? Elena whispered through tears. Gunfire. He's not here. Another contraction ripped through her body. She screamed. Dr. Reeves, I can't reach the panic room. Forget the panic room. Can you reach the front door? Elena looked down the hallway. It felt like miles away. I'm trying. Ambulance is coming. Just breathe. But then, her water broke. A sudden gush soaked through her clothes. Elena looked down, and her heart stopped. There was blood. Too much blood. Dr. Reeves, she whispered weakly. I'm bleeding. The doctor's calm voice cracked. How much? A lot. Elena's vision began fading. Something's wrong with the baby. Lie down immediately. Dr. Reeves shouted. Elevate your feet. The ambulance is almost there. But Elena couldn't move. The room spun. Her legs gave out. She collapsed onto the floor. Another contraction tore through her body. Then darkness swallowed everything. Underscore. Elena awoke to the smell of antiseptic. Machines beeped steadily nearby. Everything hurt. Her stomach, her back, her head. Don't move. Victor's voice. Rough. Broken. She turned her head slowly. Victor sat beside her hospital bed. His shirt was torn, blood-stained, his face bruised. A bandage wrapped around his arm. But he was alive. You came back, she whispered. Victor gripped her hand tightly. Of course I came back. I told you. Nothing could keep me away. Elena's hand moved to her stomach. It was smaller, flat, empty. Panic exploded inside her. The baby. Where's Leo? Victor's voice cracked. He's alive. He's in the NICU. Born at 32 weeks. 3 pounds, 8 ounces. Relief flooded Elena. I want to see him. You will, Victor promised. But first the doctors need to make sure you're stable. He rubbed his eyes tiredly. You lost a lot of blood. Placental abruption. If the ambulance had been 5 minutes later, he couldn't finish the sentence. Elena squeezed his hand. But we're here. We survived. Victor looked away toward the window. I should have been there. I should have canceled the meeting. What happened? Victor's eyes darkened. Exactly what I expected. Volkov tried to ambush us. 6 shooters. 2 cars blocking our exit. But Marco is paranoid, and I'm hard to kill. He lifted his bandaged arm. Bullet wound. Superficial. But we lost 2 men. Elena's heart sank. I'm sorry. Victor's voice turned cold. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Volkov knew about the baby. He timed the ambush so I'd be away from you. So you'd be vulnerable. He wanted to kill you. Victor's hands trembled with rage. If the ambulance had been later, Elena interrupted him softly. But it wasn't. I need to see our son. Underscore. Underscore. 10 minutes later. Victor pushed her wheelchair down the hospital hallway. Toward the NICU. Inside the room. Rows of incubators filled the space. Tiny premature babies fighting for life. A nurse greeted them. Leonardo is stable. He's breathing with assistance. But he's strong. She led them to a small incubator in the corner. Elena gasped. Inside was the tiniest human she had ever seen. Leonardo Carter Romano. barely bigger than Victor's hand. His skin almost translucent. Tiny chest rising and falling with the help of machines. But he was alive. And perfect. He's beautiful, Elena whispered. Victor wiped tears from his eyes. I sat with him for 3 hours while you were in surgery. I told him his mother was fighting, and that we were both coming back. Elena reached into the incubator gently. Her fingers touched Leo's tiny arm. His hand twitched slightly, and Elena's heart melted. Hi, baby, she whispered. It's Mama. Victor's voice turned cold again. This happened because of Volkov. Elena looked up. What are you going to do? Victor's expression hardened into stone. What I should have done months ago. Eliminate the threat. You're going to kill him? Victor's eyes burned with fury. I'm going to destroy him. His empire. His allies. Everyone who stood with him. He came after my family. There are no rules anymore. Elena looked down at her tiny son fighting for breath. And for the first time, she didn't argue. Dr. Reeves didn't soften the truth. You're lucky to be alive, she said bluntly while checking Elena's vitals. A placental abruption at 32 weeks, combined with the level of stress you were under. She shook her head. Your body simply couldn't sustain the pregnancy any longer. Elena swallowed hard. A question slipped out before she could stop it. Will I be able to have more children? For a moment the room felt unbearably quiet. Then Dr. Reeves smiled gently. Yes. With proper monitoring and care, there's no reason you can't have healthy pregnancies in the future. But right now, she squeezed Elena's hand. Let's focus on getting you healed and getting Leonardo strong enough to come home. Elena nodded slowly. How long will he have to stay here? Dr. Reeves sighed. It's hard to say. Premature babies are unpredictable. If he keeps progressing well, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But it could be longer. He's in excellent hands. Underscore. The moment the doctor left, Elena forced herself out of bed despite the pain tearing through her body. She needed to see Leo, needed to confirm he was still breathing, still fighting. She found Victor exactly where she expected, sitting beside Leo's incubator, one hand through the small opening, resting gently on their son's tiny chest. He looked like he hadn't moved in hours. He probably hadn't. You should sleep, Elena said quietly as she lowered herself into the chair beside him. Victor didn't look away from Leo. I'll sleep when this is over. His voice was hoarse. When Volkov is dead, and my family is safe. Elena's stomach twisted. Victor, you can't. He finally turned toward her. I can. And I will. The exhaustion in his eyes was overwhelming. I've already set things in motion. Marco is coordinating everything. By tomorrow night, Alexei Volkov won't exist anymore. Elena stared at him. And then what? Someone else takes his place. Someone else comes for revenge. Victor's voice went cold. No one will come after us. Because I'm making an example. Anyone who threatens my family will face the same fate. Total destruction. Elena looked back at Leo. So small. So helpless. Is this the world you want him to grow up in? One where his father solves problems with mass murder? Victor stood abruptly. I want him to grow up safe. Safe enough to sleep without fear. Safe enough that his mother doesn't go into premature labor because someone wants to kill her. His voice cracked. You almost died, Elena. Both of you. Because I wasn't there. She walked slowly toward him. But we didn't die. We're here. Leo is going to be fine. Victor shook his head. You don't know that. He's 3 pounds and attached to a ventilator. His breath hitched. He's so small. So fragile. What if I lose him? Elena grabbed his face firmly. Stop. Leo is strong. He's a fighter. Just like his father. Victor laughed bitterly. His father is a monster. His father is a man who loves fiercely. Elena's thumbs brushed his cheek. And the man sitting beside his son's incubator for 12 hours straight. That's the man Leo will know. Victor rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this. How to be what he needs. Elena smiled softly. None of us know. We figure it out as we go. Then she became serious. But you have to promise me something. Victor nodded instantly. Anything. Whatever you do to Volkov. It ends there. No. War. No escalation. Victor was silent for a long moment. I can't promise that. Elena's heart sank. Why? Because when Volkov dies, a power vacuum appears. Others will fight to take his territory. and I'll have to defend mine. So it never ends, she whispered. Victor didn't lie. No, that's the reality of what I've built. Then tear it down. Her voice broke. Sell everything. Disappear. Start over somewhere safe. Victor cupped her face gently. There is nowhere safe. My enemies would follow. And without power, I couldn't protect you. So we're trapped, she whispered. Victor kissed her forehead. No, we're protected. Underscore, suddenly. A monitor beeped sharply. Both of them spun toward Leo's incubator. A nurse was already rushing over. His oxygen levels are dropping. The numbers on the screen began falling. 92. 90. 88. Elena felt her heart stop. Do something. The nurse spoke calmly. Please step back. Victor pulled Elena away as more nurses rushed in. Machines beeped louder. More adjustments. More tubes. The numbers kept falling. 86. 87. 88. Get Dr. Patterson. Elena's knees buckled. Victor caught her. He'll be okay, Victor whispered. But Elena could feel him shaking. The doctor rushed in moments later. Orders filled the room. More equipment. More intervention. Leo's tiny body jerked. Elena let out a desperate cry. I can't lose him. Victor gripped her tightly. We're not losing him. He's a Romano. We fight. Then, slowly, the numbers began climbing. 80, 81, 82, the doctor exhaled. That's it. Come on, little fighter. 90, 91, 92, he's stable. The room finally relaxed. Dr. Patterson looked at them gently. There will be ups and downs. That's normal with premature infants. Elena's voice trembled. How many downs? The doctor sighed. It's impossible to say. But he responded well. That's a very good sign. Underscore, later that day. Marco appeared quietly in the NICU doorway. Boss, we need to talk. Victor stepped into the hallway. Elena followed. She needed to hear this. Volkov is dead, Marco said simply. Car bomb. Warehouse district. Looked like an internal dispute. Victor nodded once. Our losses? None. Marco hesitated. There's something else. Volkov had a daughter. 12 years old. She's in social services now. Marco asked carefully. What do you want done about her? Elena felt cold fear spread through her chest. Victor answered immediately. Nothing. Marco blinked. Victor continued quietly. Set up a trust fund. Enough for education, housing, everything she needs. Anonymous donor. And make one thing clear. Victor's voice hardened. She is off limits. Anyone touches her, they answer to me. Marco nodded slowly. Understood. After he left, Elena stared at Victor. You're protecting his daughter. Victor's voice was rough. She didn't choose her father. She didn't choose that life. She shouldn't pay for his sins. Elena felt tears burn her eyes. This was Victor Romano. The contradiction. The man who could order a killing. And protect an orphan. I don't know how to reconcile who you are, she whispered. Victor pulled her close. Then don't. Just accept that I'm both. Monster and man. Killer and father. Elena closed her eyes. And made her choice. Okay. Victor stiffened. Okay. I'm staying. But I have conditions. Victor nodded immediately. Name them. No more secrets. You tell me everything. Agreed. And you start making your empire legitimate. Now. Victor hesitated. Then nodded. I'll begin the transition. And one more thing. Victor raised an eyebrow. What? Elena smiled through her tears. You marry me. Properly. Because you love me. And because Leo deserves parents who choose each other. Victor looked stunned. Is that a proposal? Elena shrugged slightly. It's a condition. Victor kissed her deeply. I'll take it. I'll take all of it. And spend the rest of my life proving I deserve it. Underscore. Then suddenly, the NICU alarm screamed. Both of them ran. Leo's oxygen levels were crashing again. Faster. Worse. The numbers plummeted. 72. 68. 62. The medical team rushed in. Machines whirred. Commands flew. Victor grabbed Elena's hand tightly. Come on, Leo. Fight. You're a Romano. The numbers kept dropping. 59, 60, 61. A nurse whispered urgently. We're losing him. Elena's voice shook with desperation. No, we are not losing him. Do whatever you have to do. Whatever it takes. The doctors worked frantically. Victor squeezed her hand. I won't let him die. Elena looked at him through tears. You can't control everything. Victor's voice was steady. Watch me try. Victor cupped Elena's face with both hands. Then he kissed her. Not the desperate kiss of a man fighting for survival, but the slow, reverent kiss of a man who had finally found peace. Elena felt tears slide down her cheeks as the chapel erupted in applause. For a moment, everything else disappeared. The crowd, the politics, the past. There was only Victor, only the life they had chosen together, and the tiny future sleeping peacefully in Marco's arms. Underscore. The reception that followed was lavish. Crystal chandeliers shimmered over hundreds of guests. Soft music drifted through the grand ballroom. Politicians shook Victor's hand. Business leaders congratulated him. People who once feared Victor Romano now watched him with something entirely different. Respect. Because the most dangerous man in the city had just done the one thing no one expected. He had chosen love. Underscore. Across the room. Elena held Leo carefully against her shoulder. He slept peacefully, unaware of the world celebrating around him. Marco approached with a glass of champagne in one hand. Well, boss, he said with a grin. You're officially domesticated. Victor raised an eyebrow. Careful, Marco. I'm still dangerous. Marco laughed. Yeah, but now you're dangerous with a diaper bag. Elena laughed softly. Victor pretended to glare. But the truth was obvious. For the first time in years, Victor Romano looked relaxed. Underscore. Later that evening, the crowd slowly faded away. The last guests said their goodbyes. The music stopped. The ballroom emptied. Victor and Elena stood alone near the tall windows overlooking the glowing city skyline. Leo slept quietly in his bassinet beside them. Elena leaned against Victor's chest. Everything feels different, she whispered. Victor wrapped his arms around her. That's because it is. For the first time in my life, I'm not building an empire. I'm building a family. Elena looked up at him. No regrets. Victor didn't hesitate. Not a single one. His hand rested gently on Leo's tiny chest, watching the rise and fall of each breath. I spent years fighting to control the city. But this, he looked down at his son. This is the only thing that ever mattered. Underscore. Outside. The city lights stretched endlessly into the night. Somewhere out there were still enemies. Still shadows. Still ghosts from Victor's past. But inside that quiet room, none of it mattered. Because Leo slept safely. Because Elena stood beside him. Because Victor Romano had finally found something worth more than power. Love. Family. And a future that no one would ever take from them again. Underscore. And for the first time in his life, the most feared man in the city wasn't thinking about war. He was thinking about tomorrow, and the small boy who would one day call him father. The fluorescent lights of Danny's all-night diner buzzed overhead like something slowly dying. Elena Carter had learned to ignore the sound, just like she ignored the burning pain in her feet, the pressure in her lower back, and the constant anxiety beating inside her chest like a second heart. 7 months pregnant, and still working double shifts. It wasn't sustainable, but neither was homelessness. Her savings account held exactly $631. Barely enough for groceries next week, let alone diapers, formula, and the hospital bills that were coming soon. Elena refilled coffee at table 6. A tired truck driver sat there scrolling endlessly on his phone, barely noticing her. She moved back toward the counter, one hand supporting the weight of her swollen belly. Suddenly, the baby kicked. Hard. Elena winced. "You okay, hun?" Marlene's rough smoker's voice came from behind the register. The older woman had been working at Danny's for 15 years, and she'd taken Elena under her wing the moment she arrived 4 months ago. Obviously pregnant. Obviously running from something. Obviously desperate. "I'm fine," Elena lied softly. "Just active tonight." "Boy or girl?" Marlene asked again. She had asked that question at least 20 times. Elena shook her head. "I don't know." And that was the truth. She couldn't afford the ultrasound that would tell her. And part of her didn't want to know, because knowing would make it real. Too real. The baby kicked again, a strong roll beneath her ribs. Elena placed her hand over her stomach gently. "Easy, little one." Then, the bell above the diner door chimed. Elena turned automatically, her waitress smile already forming. And then, the world stopped. 3 men walked inside, and Elena's blood turned to ice. Because she recognized that walk, that presence, the way the air in a room changed the moment he entered. Victor Romano didn't just walk into places. He claimed them, like a predator claiming territory. 6'3", perfectly tailored suit. Dark hair swept back from a face that would have been handsome, if it wasn't so dangerous. His eyes were sharp, calculating, missing nothing, and they were locked directly on her. Elena couldn't move. Her hand tightened around the coffee pot. Every instinct screamed one thing: run. But it was already too late. Victor's gaze dropped slowly, from her face, down to her stomach, to the unmistakable curve of her pregnancy. For the first time since she had known him, Victor Romano looked shocked. Not angry, not cold, not calculating, just shocked. "Elena." Marlene's voice sounded distant. "You look like you've seen a ghost." In a way, she had, because ghosts were supposed to stay in the past. Victor Romano was very much alive, and standing in the doorway of the diner. For months ago, Elena had vanished from his life, disappeared in the middle of the night. No note, no explanation, no goodbye, just gone. Because how do you explain something like that? How do you explain to the man you love that you watched him kill someone? She had seen it with her own eyes. A crying woman, begging. Victor had raised the gun without hesitation and pulled the trigger. The memory hit her like a wave. The coffee pot slipped from Elena's numb fingers. It shattered across the floor. Glass exploded. Hot coffee splashed everywhere. The sound snapped the entire diner back to reality. "Elena, careful." Marlene rushed forward with towels, but Elena barely heard her. The room spun violently. Black spots filled her vision. The baby shifted sharply inside her. Then, strong arms caught her before she hit the floor. She knew those hands instantly. The strength, the warmth, the faint scent of expensive cologne and gunpowder. "Don't touch me," Elena whispered breathlessly. She tried to pull away, but Victor's grip was steady. "You're about to faint." His voice was low, controlled, but there was something else there too. Something unfamiliar. Concern. "When was the last time you ate?" "None of your business." Elena forced herself to step away from him. Her back hit the counter. Trapped. Victor didn't move closer, but his eyes studied everything. The cheap waitress uniform. The exhaustion in her face. The worn-out sneakers held together with tape. And the way her hands instinctively protected her belly. Victor's jaw tightened. "How far along?" His voice was dangerously calm. Elena knew that tone. It meant he was barely holding himself back. She swallowed hard. 7 months. The words hung in the air. Victor went completely still. Then slowly, very slowly, his eyes lifted back to hers. And the question that followed changed everything. "Elena," his voice dropped to a whisper. "Is it mine?" The entire diner had gone silent. Every customer, every worker, every pair of eyes was now fixed on Victor Romano. Elena could feel it. The tension, the danger, the moment waiting to explode. "Marlene," Victor said calmly, without looking away from Elena. "Can you handle the floor?" The older waitress hesitated. Her hand hovered near the phone. "Sugar, you want me to call someone?" "No," Elena said quickly. Her mind was racing. If this turned ugly in the diner, people would get hurt, and she couldn't let that happen. "I just need to talk to him." she said quietly. Outside. Victor's dark eyes flickered. After you. Not alone, Elena added quickly. Her voice stayed steady, even though fear was clawing through her chest. Marlene, I'll be right outside. 5 minutes. The older woman nodded slowly. Honey, 5 minutes. Elena forced her feet to move. She walked past Victor, close enough to feel the heat of him beside her, close enough to feel his gaze burning into her back. Underscore. The humid summer air hit her the moment the diner door opened. The parking lot was almost empty. Her broken-down Honda, a long-haul truck, and a sleek black SUV that screamed money and danger. Victor's car. She took 3 steps from the door, then her knees buckled. Again. This time Victor caught her easily. She was too exhausted to fight him. He lowered them both onto the curb, one arm wrapped around her shoulders, the other hand moving instinctively to her belly. Don't. She grabbed his wrist. Don't touch. The baby kicked hard, hard enough that Victor felt it. His entire body froze. 7 months, he said quietly. Not a question. His hand stayed on her stomach. You disappeared 9 months ago. 8, Elena whispered. 8.5. Silence. Heavy. Thick. Victor's voice came out low. Mine. Again, not a question. Elena squeezed her eyes shut. Victor, why? The single word carried everything. Rage. Confusion. Betrayal. Pain. His hand tightened on her shoulder. Why did you run? His voice cracked slightly, and Victor stopped speaking, collecting himself. This was exactly why she had run. Because this version of Victor, the one capable of being hurt, was harder to face than the monster she had seen that night. I saw you, she whispered. Victor went still. That night. The warehouse on 5th. I followed you. Her voice trembled. I saw you kill her. The words spilled out. I saw you put the gun to her head while she begged for her life. Victor's hand moved to her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. You saw me execute a traitor. His voice was calm, cold. She sold information to the Vulovs. 3 of my men died because of her. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was crying, Elena whispered. They usually do. No apology. No regret. Just fact. Elena laughed bitterly. And you wonder why I ran. You thought I'd hurt you? Victor asked quietly. You thought I'd kill you to protect myself. I didn't know what you'd do. The words burst out of her like a sob. The man I thought I knew didn't exist. Victor's thumb brushed away a tear from her cheek. I never lied to you, Elena. I never pretended to be anything other than what I am. And that was almost true. He had never said the words crime boss. But he had never hidden the guns either. You should have told me about the baby, Victor said softly. I had a right to know. Rights. Elena laughed. You want to talk about rights? I have the right to protect my child from... She stopped. Victor's hand returned to her stomach. Gentle. Possessive. From his father? His voice dropped dangerously low. I would burn this entire city to the ground to protect him. That's exactly what I'm afraid of, she whispered. Underscore. Victor stood suddenly. Marco, his head of security, immediately moved toward the SUV. Bring the car around. Wait, no. Elena tried to stand. I'm not going anywhere with you. Victor looked down at her. You're 7 months pregnant. Malnourished. Living in a motel that probably has mold and bed bugs. So yes, you're coming with me. You can't what? Protect my child? His hand cupped her face. You can hate me all you want. You can think I'm a monster. But you will not endanger yourself or my son. The SUV pulled up beside them. The door opened. Waiting. Elena looked back at the diner. Through the window, she saw Marlene watching. Phone in hand. Ready to call the police. But what good would that do? Victor Romano owned half the police force, and the other half knew better than to cross him. She thought about the motel room, the ramen noodles, the exhaustion, the fear. 1 month, she whispered finally. Victor studied her. Until the baby comes. Then we reassess. Victor nodded once. Agreed. He helped her into the SUV gently. The leather seats felt unreal. The air conditioning cooled her burning skin. Luxury she hadn't felt in months. Your things? Victor asked. Everything I own fits in one duffel bag. Something dark flashed across his face. We'll collect it tomorrow. His hand found hers in the darkness. Doctor's appointment tomorrow. Full checkup. You need real food. Elena didn't answer. She was too tired to fight anymore. I still hate what you do, she whispered. I know. Victor's thumb traced slow circles on her hand. But you're here. For now, that's enough. Underscore the SUV pulled away from the diner. Away from the life Elena had been barely surviving. And straight back into the darkness she had run from. Only this time, she wasn't alone. She was carrying Victor Romano's child. And that changed everything. Victor Romano's penthouse was silent. Too silent. Elena changed into the soft pajamas he had provided and slowly climbed into the enormous bed. The mattress was so comfortable, it almost felt unreal after months of sleeping on a broken motel mattress. Her son kicked against her ribs. Hard. Elena rested a hand over her stomach. We're in trouble, she whispered softly. Your father is a very dangerous man, and I think I just let him back into our lives. The baby kicked again, almost like he agreed. Elena closed her eyes. But sleep didn't come easily. Because Victor Romano wasn't just dangerous. He was the kind of man who protected what was his with ruthless precision. And now, she and the baby were part of that world again. Underscore. Morning sunlight streamed through the tall windows. Elena woke slowly. For a moment she was confused. The sheets were clean, soft. They didn't smell like mildew or cheap detergent. Then the memories rushed back. Victor in the diner, his hand on her stomach, the baby kicking beneath his palm, the deal she had made in exhaustion. 1 month. She had given him 1 month. Elena sat up slowly. 7 months pregnant meant even the best mattress couldn't erase the aches in her back. She glanced at the clock. 9:15 a.m. Panic shot through her instantly. She was supposed to be at the diner for the breakfast shift. Then reality hit her. She didn't work there anymore. Victor Romano had erased that life the moment he walked into the diner. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Come in, she called. The door opened. Victor stepped inside carrying a breakfast tray. And Elena hated the way her heart skipped at the sight of him. He had clearly been awake for hours. Dark slacks, crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up. Every inch the polished businessman, except for the shoulder holster visible when his jacket shifted. Breakfast, he said calmly. He placed the tray beside her on the bed. Eggs, toast, fruit. The doctor said you need protein and iron. Elena frowned. You already called a doctor? Dr. Reeves will be here at 11. Victor sat on the edge of the bed. She's an obstetrician, high-risk pregnancy specialist. She'll run a full exam. Ultrasound, blood work, whatever you need. Elena stared at the food. Her stomach growled loudly. I have a doctor, she muttered. At the free clinic. Victor's eyes narrowed slightly. And when was your last appointment? Elena didn't answer. The silence said enough. Eat, Victor said. His tone made it clear this wasn't a suggestion. Underscore. The eggs were perfect. Light. Fluffy. Seasoned with herbs she couldn't even name. The toast was fresh bakery bread. The fruit was perfectly ripe. Elena told herself she was eating for the baby. But that wasn't the full truth. She was starving. Victor watched every bite quietly. When she finished the plate, he finally spoke. Better. Don't look so smug, she said. I'm not smug. I'm relieved. His hand rested gently on her stomach. He's active this morning. He's always active, Elena said. Especially after I eat. Victor's thumb traced a slow circle across her belly. I've been reading. Pregnancy books. Medical articles. Everything I can find. Elena blinked. You started last night. I have 7 months to catch up on. Something tightened painfully in her chest. Victor approached fatherhood the same way he approached everything. Total focus. Total control. You can't control babies, she said quietly. They don't work like business deals. Victor met her eyes. I know, but I can remove risks. I can create safety. And if necessary, I can eliminate threats. Elena's expression hardened. You mean kill people? Victor didn't deny it. If necessary. Underscore the baby kicked suddenly. Hard. Elena winced. Victor's hand moved instantly. Does that hurt? Sometimes. She guided his hand lower. Here. Feel that. The baby pushed against her stomach. Victor froze. His expression changed completely. The cold calculation disappeared, replaced by something raw. That's him, he whispered. That's my son. Elena watched him quietly. Pretty strong, right? Victor's voice was rough. Like his mother. His jaw tightened. You were working double shifts. Living in that motel. Starving yourself. You were killing yourself, Elena. Her voice softened. I didn't know what else to do. You could have come to me. I was protecting him from your world. Victor shook his head. You were destroying yourself instead. He took her hand. You don't have to approve of what I do. You don't even have to forgive me. But you do have to let me protect my son. Under her phone suddenly buzzed. Elena grabbed it quickly. 12 missed calls. 6 messages. All from Marlene. Her heart dropped. She opened the messages. Honey, are you okay? That man looked dangerous. Please answer. If you don't respond, I'm calling the police. Elena immediately dialed. Marlene. Elena. The older woman's voice exploded through the phone. Are you safe? I'm safe. I promise. Who was that man? Elena glanced at Victor. He's the baby's father. Silence filled the line. The man you've been hiding from? Yes. Are you safe? Marlene repeated quietly. Elena hesitated, then said, yes. Call me if that changes, Marlene warned. I mean it. I will. When the call ended, Victor was still watching her. She cares about you. She's a good person, Elena said. Victor adjusted his cuffs calmly. The kind of person who wouldn't survive in my world. Under at exactly 11 o'clock. Dr. Reeves arrived. A confident woman in her 50s. Kind eyes. Professional calm. Victor hovered nearby like a restless shadow. Mr. Romano, the doctor said firmly. I need you outside for the first part of the exam. Victor frowned. I'd prefer to stay. I'm sure you would. But pregnancy involves moments where men don't get what they prefer. Waiting room is the hallway. Victor actually looked annoyed. But he obeyed. Elena nearly laughed. Seeing a crime boss get ordered around by a 5'6" doctor was oddly satisfying. Under a few minutes later, the ultrasound machine hummed softly. Cold gel touched Elena's stomach. The screen flickered to life. There he is, Dr. Reeves said. A tiny figure appeared on the screen. Moving. Alive. Elena's breath caught. She could see his tiny hands. His spine. The curve of his face. Can I see? Victor's voice came from the doorway. Elena nodded. He crossed the room quickly. His eyes locked onto the screen. That's him. His voice broke. That's my son. Dr. Reeves smiled. Well, actually, do you want to know the gender? Victor and Elena answered at the exact same time. Yes. The doctor studied the screen, then smiled wider. Congratulations. You're having a boy. Victor's hand tightened around Elena's. She looked up. Tears were sliding down his face. A son, he whispered. Elena squeezed his hand. Yes. A son. Under the room filled with quiet wonder. For a moment, there was no crime empire, no danger, no fear, just two people staring at the tiny life they had created together and realizing everything had changed forever. At that moment, Elena wanted to argue, but the exhaustion Dr. Reeves had mentioned was already pulling at her. The examination had taken less than an hour, yet somehow, she felt completely drained. Dr. Reeves pulled off her gloves and gave Elena a reassuring smile. I'll be back in 3 days to check on you, she said calmly. If you experience any cramping, bleeding, or unusual pain, call me immediately. She glanced toward Victor. Mr. Romano has my number. Elena sighed softly. Of course he does. Dr. Reeves chuckled. He also received a very stern lecture about respecting your autonomy and not being overbearing. She squeezed Elena's hand gently. You're doing fine, sweetheart. The baby is healthy. A small pause. Now you just need to take care of yourself. Then she left. The door closed, and silence filled the room. Underscore. Victor sat down on the edge of the bed. His phone was already in his hand. His fingers moved quickly across the screen. Elena frowned. What are you doing? Victor didn't even look up. Arranging vitamins. Calling my chef about high-protein meals. And making sure Marco understands you're on bed rest. Another quick message. I'm also having him bring your things. Elena stared at him. Victor, you can't just... She stopped. Because Victor finally looked up. And the expression on his face stopped her mid-sentence. His voice was quiet. Almost disbelieving. We're having a son, Elena. The wonder in his voice broke something inside her chest. I know. Victor shook his head slightly, as if the reality still felt unreal. A son. A pause. My boy. Elena corrected him softly. Our boy. Victor set his phone aside. Then slowly, carefully, he placed both hands on her belly, like it was something sacred. His thumb traced gentle circles across her stomach. I never thought. His voice faded. I never let myself imagine this. Elena looked at him. Imagine what? Victor swallowed. A family. A small pause. Someone to protect. Then his jaw tightened. My father was a bastard. His voice turned colder. Cruel. Cold. To him, children were tools. Another pause. Or disappointments. Elena watched him quietly. Victor's eyes hardened. I won't be him. His voice was fierce now. I won't do to our son what was done to me. Elena gently covered his hand. Then give him a different life. Victor frowned. A different life? Elena nodded slowly. Not this one. Her voice was soft but firm. Not the violence, the fear, the constant danger. Victor's expression darkened. I can protect him from danger. Elena shook her head. But you can't protect him from knowing what you are. A long silence filled the room. Then Victor finally asked, What do you want me to do, Elena? His voice was low. Walk away from everything I've built. She met his gaze. I want you to want better for him. Victor's jaw clenched. I can have both. Elena looked straight into his eyes. Can you? The question hung heavily in the air. Victor stood up suddenly. Frustration radiated from him. I know what you want. His voice hardened. You want a fairy tale. He shook his head. But that's not reality. His eyes darkened. Reality is that I have blood on my hands. A pause. And people who want revenge for that blood. He looked at her intensely. The only thing keeping you safe is me. Elena's voice trembled. So we're prisoners of your choices? Victor answered instantly. You're protected by my choices. Another heavy silence. Then Victor spoke again. His voice colder than before. Mercy gets you killed in my world. A pause. Hesitation gets you buried. His eyes darkened with old memories. I learned that when I was 14. Elena's heart tightened. Victor walked toward the door. Then he stopped. Without turning around, he said quietly, I may be a monster, Elena. A small pause. But I'm a monster who loves you. And then he left, leaving Elena alone, with words she had never expected to hear. Underscore. Because loving Victor Romano meant accepting darkness. And Elena wasn't sure she could do that. Even for the child growing inside her. Even for the life they had created together. Underscore. Music fades slowly, but one thing was certain. The next month would change everything. Victor shouldered the bedroom door open. His voice was rough, heavy with emotion. Trust me. He paused for a moment, then added quietly. But if you're telling me that time is over, then it's over. Elena nodded. And in the next second, they were on the bed. Victor's hands were everywhere. Urgent, desperate, like he'd been starving for weeks. And Elena stopped thinking. Completely. Under later that night. They lay wrapped in expensive sheets. Victor's arm was draped around her waist. Between them, their son kicked softly inside her belly. For the first time in months, Elena felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. Not just physically safe, but emotionally safe. And somehow, that feeling terrified her almost as much as it comforted her. She spoke quietly into the darkness. This doesn't fix everything. Victor's fingers traced lazy patterns across her hip. I know. A pause. But it's a start. Elena turned slightly toward him. You still haven't told me what you do all day. Another pause. Where you go, who you meet with. Victor was silent for a moment. Then he asked quietly, do you really want to know? Elena hesitated. Because knowing meant something dangerous. Knowing meant complicity. It meant accepting her place in Victor's world as the woman of a crime boss, as the mother of his heir. But not knowing had nearly gotten her killed once already. She took a slow breath. Yes. Her voice was firm. I want to know. Victor shifted, propping himself up on one elbow. His expression was calm, almost businesslike. I run operations. Across 6 territories. A small pause. Mostly gambling. Some protection. Some import-export that's legal enough to pass scrutiny. Elena listened quietly. Victor continued. I have lieutenants who run day-to-day operations. But I oversee everything. Another pause. Then he said it plainly. And the violence happens when someone challenges my authority or threatens my people. He spoke like he was discussing the weather. Cold. Practical. Emotionless. I try to avoid it, he added. Violence is expensive. It attracts attention. Then his expression hardened. But sometimes it's necessary. Elena's voice was barely above a whisper. Like that woman. Victor nodded slowly. His eyes darkened. She sold out 3 of my men. They were ambushed. A pause. Tortured. Another pause. Then executed. Elena instinctively placed a hand over her belly. Victor covered her hand with his. If I had shown mercy, his voice turned colder. It would have happened again. A long silence filled the room. Finally, Elena whispered. So you kill to prevent killing. Victor didn't hesitate. I kill to protect my own. Then he looked down at her belly. Just like I'll kill to protect you and Leo. Elena closed her eyes. She hated the logic. But deep down she understood it. In Victor's world, mercy was weakness. And weakness was fatal. I still don't like it, she whispered. Victor pulled her closer. You don't have to like it. A pause. You just have to accept that it's reality. His hand rested across her belly. But this life doesn't touch Leo. His voice softened. He grows up clean. Safe. Away from all of it. Elena frowned. How? Victor's tone became determined. I'm already working on it. Legitimizing operations. Cleaning things up. By the time he's old enough to ask questions, a small pause. There will be clean answers. Elena turned to face him. You'd really change everything for him? Victor cupped her face gently. For both of you. His voice dropped to a whisper. I'd burn it all down and start over. Elena searched his eyes in the darkness, looking for a lie. But Victor Romano had never lied to her. Not once. Finally, she said quietly. 1 month. Victor frowned slightly. 3 weeks now, she corrected. You have 3 weeks to prove you mean it. Victor smiled faintly. Then I'll spend every second proving it. He kissed her forehead, her cheek, her lips. Sleep, Elena. His voice softened. You need rest. And within minutes, exhaustion finally claimed her. That night, wrapped in Victor's arms, with their son kicking softly between them, Elena slept peacefully, for the first time in months. Underscore. Music shifts to tension, but the peace didn't last long. The next morning, Elena woke to an empty bed and the sound of raised voices somewhere in the penthouse. Victor's voice. Sharp. Angry. I don't care what Volkov wants. Elena froze. Her heart immediately began racing. Something was wrong. Very wrong. And she had the terrifying feeling that this was only the beginning. Victor hesitated for a moment. Then he nodded. I'll get a wheelchair. His voice was quiet, careful. But Elena, you need to prepare yourself. He swallowed. He's small, very small. A pause. And he's on machines to help him breathe. Elena shook her head immediately. I don't care. Her voice trembled but remained firm. He's ours. A breath caught in her throat. And I need to see him. Underscore. Underscore. 10 minutes later. Victor pushed her wheelchair down the long hospital corridor. The fluorescent lights hummed softly above them. Elena's entire body ached. Her abdomen burned. Her back screamed with pain. But she didn't care. Nothing mattered. Except seeing her son. Underscore. The NICU doors opened. Inside, rows of incubators filled the room. Tiny premature babies lay inside plastic boxes, connected to wires and machines, each one fighting their own silent battle for life. A nurse approached them with a gentle smile. Miss Carter, Mr. Romano. Her voice was calm and professional. Leonardo is stable. Elena held her breath. He's breathing with assistance, the nurse continued. But his vitals are strong. Then she guided them toward the corner of the room. He's a fighter. Underscore. Elena's breath caught. Inside the incubator was the smallest human being she had ever seen. Leonardo Carter Romano was barely bigger than Victor's hand. His skin looked almost translucent. His tiny chest rose and fell slowly, helped by a ventilator. Thin wires and tubes surrounded him, machines monitoring every heartbeat, every fragile breath. But his eyes were closed peacefully, and one tiny fist rested beside his cheek. And in that moment, Elena fell completely, irrevocably in love. Her voice was barely a whisper. He's beautiful. Tears filled her eyes. He's perfect. Victor's voice broke beside her. I sat with him for 3 hours while you were in surgery. Elena looked at him. Victor swallowed hard. I talked to him. Hey. Tear rolled down his cheek. Told him he needed to fight. His voice cracked. That his mother was fighting too. Another tear fell. And that we were both coming back for him. Elena stared at the man beside her. Victor Romano, the ruthless crime boss, the man who ruled through fear, was crying over a 3-pound baby. Underscore. Elena turned to the nurse. Can I touch him? The nurse nodded. Through the ports, carefully. She opened the small circular access panel in the incubator. Skin contact helps premature babies regulate their heart rate. Elena's hands trembled as she reached inside. Her fingers gently brushed Leo's tiny arm. His skin felt warm, soft as silk. Leo shifted slightly, reacting to her touch. And Elena's heart nearly burst. Hi, baby. Her voice shook with emotion. It's me. A tear rolled down her cheek. It's Mama. She stroked his arm gently. I'm so sorry I couldn't keep you safe longer. Victor's hand covered hers. He doesn't blame you. His voice was quiet. And neither do I. Then his expression hardened. His eyes turned cold. Dangerous. This was Volkov's doing. Elena looked up slowly. What are you going to do? Victor's face became stone. What I should have done months ago. A pause. His voice dropped into something dark. Eliminate the threat, permanently. Elena's stomach tightened. You're going to kill him. Victor shook his head slightly. No, his voice was colder than ice. I'm going to destroy him. A pause. His organization. His territory. Everyone who stood with him. Victor's hand tightened around hers. He came after my family. His eyes burned with fury. There are no rules anymore. Elena looked back at Leo. So tiny. So fragile. Fighting for every breath. And suddenly, she couldn't argue anymore. Elena Victor leaned closer to the incubator. His voice became a deadly whisper. I won't let him hurt you again. His hand rested gently beside Leo. Either of you. A pause. Whatever it takes. Underscore. The nurse cleared her throat gently. Miss Carter, you need to rest. She smiled softly. You can come back in a few hours. Elena didn't want to move. Didn't want to leave Leo's side. But exhaustion was pulling her under. Victor squeezed her hand. I'll stay with him. He looked at her seriously. I won't leave him alone. A pause. I promise. Elena looked at them both. Her son, and the man she loved. Her entire world. Call me if anything changes. Victor kissed her forehead. The second anything changes. Underscore. Later that night. Elena lay in her hospital bed, checking her phone again and again and again. Every message from Victor said the same thing. Leo is stable. Leo is breathing well. No complications. Each time she read those words, Elena cried. From relief and fear. Underscore. Because now she understood something terrifying. Their son had been born into Victor Romano's world. A world of power, violence, enemies, and war. And Victor had already decided how that war would end. Marco's words hung heavy in the air. Volkov had a daughter, 12 years old. Silence filled the hospital hallway. The sterile white lights above them buzzed faintly. Marco continued carefully. She's in protective custody with social services. His eyes flicked toward Victor. What do you want me to do about her? For a moment, Victor Romano said nothing. The crime boss stood perfectly still, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. Then he spoke. One word. Nothing. Marco blinked. Boss. Victor exhaled slowly. Then his voice turned cold and deliberate. Set up a trust fund. Marco frowned slightly. Enough money to cover her education, housing, whatever she needs until she's 25. He paused. Anonymous donor. Victor's eyes hardened. Make sure social services know the money is there. Marco nodded slowly. Victor continued. And make something else clear. His voice dropped into a dangerous whisper. She is off limits. Marco straightened. Anyone touches her, anyone even looks at her wrong. Victor's gaze became lethal. They answer to me. A long pause. Marco finally nodded. Understood. Anything else? Victor shook his head. That's all. Keep me updated on the territory situation. Marco left without another word. Underscore. Elena stared at Victor. Her voice was soft. You're protecting his daughter. Victor didn't look at her. I'm protecting a child who had nothing to do with her father's choices. His voice was rough. I killed Volkov because he threatened my family. A pause. But his daughter didn't threaten anyone. Victor finally turned to her. She's just a kid who lost her father. Elena whispered quietly. A father you killed. Victor didn't deny it. Yes. No excuses. No apologies. Just the truth. But she doesn't need to suffer for that. Victor's voice softened slightly. She didn't ask to be born into that world. His eyes drifted toward the NICU doors. Just like Leo didn't ask to be born into mine. Tears filled Elena's eyes. Because this was the contradiction that lived inside Victor Romano. The man who could order brutal killings and quietly fund the future of his enemy's orphan daughter. The man who ruled an empire through fear, yet cried beside the incubator of his premature son. Elena whispered, I don't know how to reconcile who you are. Victor stepped closer, then pulled her into his arms. Then don't. His voice was quiet. Just accept that I'm both. A pause. Monster and man. Killer and father. He rested his forehead against hers. I can't be one without the other. Underscore. Underscore. 20 feet away. Their son fought for every breath inside a plastic incubator. And in that moment, Elena made her choice. Not because it was easy, not because it was perfect, but because loving Victor Romano meant loving all of him. The darkness, and the light, the violence, and the tenderness, the danger, and the safety he gave her. She pressed her face against his chest and whispered, "Okay." Victor's arms tightened. "Okay, I'm staying." He looked down at her. "After the month is over. After Leo comes home. After everything," she swallowed. "I'm staying." Victor searched her face. "But I have conditions." His lips curved slightly. "Name them." "No more secrets." Elena's voice was steady now. "You tell me everything. Where you go. What you're doing. What business you're handling. I don't have to like it. But I need to know." Victor nodded. "Agreed. And you start legitimizing everything." She held his gaze. "Not someday. Now." Victor hesitated, then slowly nodded. "I'll start the transition. It won't happen overnight. I know. But it has to start." She placed her hand over his heart. "And one more thing." Victor raised an eyebrow. "What?" Elena smiled through tears. "You marry me properly." His eyes widened slightly. "No arrangement. No convenience. You marry me because you love me." A pause. "And because Leo deserves parents who are committed to each other." Victor stared at her, then slowly smiled. "Is that a proposal?" Elena shrugged. "It's a condition." Victor didn't hesitate. "I'll take it." Then he kissed her. Deep. "Certain. I'll take everything you're offering. And spend the rest of my life proving I deserve it." Underscore. And then an alarm screamed from the NICU. Both of them ran. Doctors surrounded Leo's incubator. The monitors flashed red. His oxygen levels were crashing. 68. 62. 59. "We're losing him." "No." Elena screamed. "Do whatever it takes." Victor gripped the incubator. His voice fierce. "Leo. Leonardo Carter Romano. You hear me? You don't give up. Romano's fight." Elena cried beside him. "Please, baby, fight." The numbers kept falling. 50. 48. For one terrifying moment, the world stopped. Then suddenly, 49, 50, 51.
But because loving Victor Romano meant loving all of him. The darkness. And the light. The violence. And the tenderness. The danger. And the safety he gave her. She pressed her face against his chest. And whispered. "Okay." Victor's arms tightened. "Okay. I'm staying." He looked down at her. "After the month is over. After Leo comes home. After everything," she swallowed. "I'm staying." Victor searched her face. "But I have conditions." His lips curved slightly. "Name them." "No more secrets." Elena's voice was steady now. "You tell me everything. Where you go. What you're doing. What business you're handling. I don't have to like it. But I need to know." Victor nodded. "Agreed. And you start legitimizing everything." She held his gaze. "Not someday. Now." Victor hesitated. Then slowly nodded. "EAJ start the transition. It won't happen overnight. I know. But it has to start." She placed her hand over his heart. "And one more thing." Victor raised an eyebrow. "What?" Elena smiled through tears. "You marry me properly." His eyes widened slightly. "No arrangement. No convenience. You marry me because you love me." A pause. "And because Leo deserves parents who are committed to each other." Victor stared at her. Then slowly smiled. "Is that a proposal?" Elena shrugged. "It's a condition." Victor didn't hesitate. "EAJ take it." Then he kissed her. "De. Certain. EAJ take everything you're offering. And spend the rest of my life proving I deserve it." Guión bajo 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 guión. And then an alarm screamed from the NICU. Both of them ran. Doctors surrounded Leo's incubator. The monitors flashed red. His oxygen levels were crashing. 68. 62. 59. We're losing him. No. Elena screamed. Do whatever it takes. Victor gripped the incubator. His voice fierce. Leo. Leonardo Carter Romano. You hear me? You don't give up. Romanos fight. Elena cried beside him. Please baby, fight, the numbers kept falling. 50. 48. For one terrifying moment. The world stopped. Then suddenly. 49, 50. 51.
And neither do I. Then his expression hardened. His eyes turned cold. Dangerous. This was Volkov's doing. Elena looked up slowly. What are you going to do? Victor's face became stone. What I should have done months ago. A pause. His voice dropped into something dark. Eliminate the threat, permanently. Elena's stomach tightened. You're going to kill him. Victor shook his head slightly. No, his voice was colder than ice. I'm going to destroy him. A pause. His organization. His territory. Everyone who stood with him. Victor's hand tightened around hers. He came after my family. His eyes burned with fury. There are no rules anymore. Elena looked back at Leo. So tiny. So fragile. Fighting for every breath. And suddenly, she couldn't argue anymore. Underscore. Victor leaned closer to the incubator. His voice became a deadly whisper. I won't let him hurt you again. His hand rested gently beside Leo. Either of you. A pause. Whatever it takes. Underscore. The nurse cleared her throat gently. Miss Carter, you need to rest. She smiled softly. You can come back in a few hours. Elena didn't want to move. Didn't want to leave Leo's side. But exhaustion was pulling her under. Victor squeezed her hand. I'll stay with him. He looked at her seriously. I won't leave him alone. A pause. I promise. Elena looked at them both. Her son, and the man she loved. Her entire world. Call me if anything changes. Victor kissed her forehead. The second anything changes. Underscore. Later that night. Elena lay in her hospital bed, checking her phone again and again and again. Every message from Victor said the same thing. Leo is stable. Leo is breathing well. No complications. Each time she read those words, Elena cried. From relief. And fear. Underscore. Because now she understood something terrifying. Their son had been born into Victor Romano's world. A world of power, violence, enemies, and war. And Victor had already decided how that war would end. Marco's words hung heavy in the air. Volkov had a daughter, 12 years old. Silence filled the hospital hallway. The sterile white lights above them buzzed faintly. Marco continued carefully. She's in protective custody with social services. His eyes flicked toward Victor. What do you want me to do about her? For a moment, Victor Romano said nothing. The crime boss stood perfectly still, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. Then he spoke. One word. Nothing. Marco blinked. Boss. Victor exhaled slowly. Then his voice turned cold and deliberate. Set up a trust fund. Marco frowned slightly. Enough money to cover her education, housing, whatever she needs until she's 25. He paused. Anonymous donor. Victor's eyes hardened. Make sure social services know the money is there. Marco nodded slowly. Victor continued. And make something else clear. His voice dropped into a dangerous whisper. She is off limits. Marco straightened. Anyone touches her, anyone even looks at her wrong. Victor's gaze became lethal. They answer to me. A long pause. Marco finally nodded. Understood. Anything else? Victor shook his head. That's all. Keep me updated on the territory situation. Marco left without another word. Understood. Elena stared at Victor. Her voice was soft. You're protecting his daughter. Victor didn't look at her. I'm protecting a child who had nothing to do with her father's choices. His voice was rough. I killed Volkov because he threatened my family. A pause. But his daughter didn't threaten anyone. Victor finally turned to her. She's just a kid who lost her father. Elena whispered quietly. A father you killed. Victor didn't deny it. Yes. No excuses. No apologies. Just the truth. But she doesn't need to suffer for that. Victor's voice softened slightly. She didn't ask to be born into that world. His eyes drifted toward the NICU doors. Just like Leo didn't ask to be born into mine. Tears filled Elena's eyes. Because this was the contradiction that lived inside Victor Romano. The man who could order brutal killings and quietly fund the future of his enemy's orphan daughter. The man who ruled an empire through fear, yet cried beside the incubator of his premature son. Elena whispered, I don't know how to reconcile who you are. Victor stepped closer, then pulled her into his arms. Then don't. His voice was quiet. Just accept that I'm both. A pause. Monster and man. Killer and father. He rested his forehead against hers. I can't be one without the other. Understood. Underscore. 20 feet away. Their son fought for every breath inside a plastic incubator. And in that moment, Elena made her choice. Not because it was easy, not because it was perfect, but because loving Victor Romano meant loving all of him. The darkness, and the light, the violence, and the tenderness, the danger, and the safety he gave her. She pressed her face against his chest and whispered, Okay. Victor's arms tightened. Okay, I'm staying. He looked down at her. After the month is over. After Leo comes home. After everything, she swallowed. I'm staying. Victor searched her face. But I have conditions. His lips curved slightly. Name them. No more secrets. Elena's voice was steady now. You tell me everything. Where you go. What you're doing. What business you're handling. I don't have to like it. But I need to know. Victor nodded. Agreed. And you start legitimizing everything. She held his gaze. Not someday. Now. Victor hesitated. Then slowly nodded. I'll start the transition. It won't happen overnight. I know. But it has to start. She placed her hand over his heart. And one more thing. Victor raised an eyebrow. What? Elena smiled through tears. You marry me properly. His eyes widened slightly. No arrangement. No convenience. You marry me because you love me. A pause. And because Leo deserves parents who are committed to each other. Victor stared at her. Then slowly smiled. Is that a proposal? Elena shrugged. It's a condition. Victor didn't hesitate. I'll take it. Then he kissed her. Deep. Certain. I'll take everything you're offering. And spend the rest of my life proving I deserve it. Understood. And then an alarm screamed from the NICU. Both of them ran. Doctors surrounded Leo's incubator. The monitors flashed red. His oxygen levels were crashing. 68. 62. 59. We're losing him. No. Elena screamed. Do whatever it takes. Victor gripped the incubator. His voice fierce. Leo. Leonardo Carter Romano. You hear me? You don't give up. Romano's fight. Elena cried beside him. Please, baby, fight. The numbers kept falling. 50. 48. For one terrifying moment. The world stopped. Then suddenly. 49. 50. 51.